Hello, healers and health seekers. It's me, Ichoda, healing using medical medium information for 3 years now. 3 years! Oh my gosh. What symptoms and conditions have I healed or are healing? What am I working on? What has gone and what is still to go? That is a good question. I recently sat down and tried to make a list of all of my symptoms and conditions that I can remember and that have healed, and I have added to it over the weeks. I've just been keeping an ongoing list in my phone, and so far I have come up with 106 different symptoms and conditions that I have had or have been healing. And that is a pretty extensive list. So I was trying to figure out how on earth am I going to do a video about this. 106 symptoms and conditions is a lot, and I don't know even how to cover all of it. I guess what I'll do is just start going down the list and see how far I can get, and if I need to make a second part of this video, I will make a second part of this video. Okay, so let's just go down the list. The list. Oh my goodness, it's quite a big list. Okay, I should have made a list first of just all the diagnoses that I have, but the thing is diagnoses are great, but a diagnosis is nothing but a name assigned to a set of given symptoms. And many of these diagnoses that I have or was about to receive have the same symptoms and they overlap, and so it's honestly easier to just go through symptoms and say this is what's healed, because at the root of all of these symptoms and conditions is this core group of pathogens. So it's either viral, bacterial, or heavy metals, radiation, all these toxins, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, petrochemicals, all these things. So all of these things combined, and then there's foods that feed those pathogens and stuff like that. That's what ends up giving us all these symptoms. Ultimately, it becomes too much of a drain on our liver, and our liver can't do its job anymore, because our liver's job is to filter out the toxins and pathogens, but it can't do that job if we are eating too high fat of a diet, and then the liver gets all clogged up and sluggish. And if we're eating too many foods that feed pathogens and things like that, like, it's just the perfect storm, and the liver can only work so hard for so long before it starts not being able to do its job. Okay, so we were talking about my symptoms and conditions. So I think I'm just going to go through the list and talk about symptoms. And here is what I wish I had done that I did not do. I wish I had made a spreadsheet of all of these symptoms and conditions, and I wish I had rated them at the beginning on a scale of 1 to 10, because now I have to trust my memory, which is fine, but it's better if you, like when you're tracking your progress, it's so great if you have a spreadsheet in front of you where each month you can be like, go down the whole list of symptoms and conditions and be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is this now? Because then you can start to see progress. And the numbers can go up and down, because healing isn't linear and healing takes time. It took my liver, well, I should say, one of the symptoms and conditions I was born with. I was born with jaundice. So that means that from birth, I already had a compromised liver. When you're born with jaundice, it means you have a sluggish liver. You're coming in hot. Maybe kind of literally, because it could be a hot liver. And I already had a sluggish liver, which meant it was really a matter of no time at all before toxins and pathogens started affecting my liver and overwhelming it, because it was already overwhelmed when I was born. So it just got progressively worse from there. And how impressive is it that the liver can keep a body alive? This is how amazing our livers are, that it can keep a body alive for how many years, still going, still alive, and we don't die, and it protects us from pathogens because it has all of these sort of backup systems. Okay, if I can't do this job alone, I have other parts of the body. If I can't store all these toxins inside of me, then I store them in fat cells. If I can't kill off these invaders, if I can't get these invaders out in a safe way, I have to get them out through the skin. Things like that. Like, there's so many ways that our liver protects us for so many decades and keeps us alive, despite the fact that we're feeding it all the wrong foods and eating way too high fat of diets. And that's everybody. Everybody eats too high fat of a diet. That's just, it doesn't matter how healthy you're eating. There's like raw plant-based people that are eating way too much fat. There's the paleo, if you're eating fat with every meal, protein with every meal, you're eating way too much fat. It's like standard American diet, obviously. And so it's just the state of the planet today. Like, everybody's eating too high fat of a diet. There are very, very, very few people on this planet that are eating super low fat and really just eating to heal their livers and to support their livers. And it's because we don't know. We don't have the information. Okay. And I know that I'm not here to give you a lesson on the medical medium information. I'm here to tell you about my symptoms and conditions. But this is relevant to me. Started with jaundice. And then I could just say like a little bit about my health history. I remember having fevers when I was a little kid. I remember having fevers and like hallucinatory dreams and things like that. And like the room would get longer. And I remember some dreams even from when I was 5. And then I remember having strep throat a bunch of times when I was 7, because we lived in an ashram for 6 months, and in that ashram there were just people coming in from all over the world. It was an international hub, so who knows what I got exposed to. Well, obviously I got exposed to strep, so because I got strep throat so many times, and we lived there for 6 months, me and my mom, and I think in that 6 months I had strep throat 3 or 4 times, and then I had it again when we came back from the ashram a couple more times, and then I started getting styes and boils and stuff like that. I think I might have started having some slight urinary issues, but I didn't. Obviously nobody knows that that's associated with strep, so, but all of that was the strep that I got exposed to. So, and then it just went from there. I have done other videos with my kind of whole health history, so I'm not going to go all into that here. I'll put some links below. Okay, my symptoms. I'm going to read you my list of symptoms, okay? It's 106 symptoms. So a lot of these are going to be my POTS symptoms, POTS dysautonomia, dizziness, lightheaded, nausea, lying on the floor or table. Anytime I would lie on even a massage table or to do like physical therapy exercises or anything like that, because I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and in order to do my physical therapy for Ehlers-Danlos, I could not lie on the floor because I would get dizzy and nauseated. And it also happened even when I would lie on the massage table. And so I couldn't even lie down flat. I'd always have to have my head up and then also my legs elevated because of the chronic pain that I had. I was since my 20s, probably like 25, 30 years, I've had chronic pain in my back, in my lower back, and then it spread to other parts of my body, but it was for that long in my lower back. Okay, I had erratic blood pressure and heartbeat. I had low blood pressure all the time. My blood pressure was always too low. I would get heart palpitations. Before I started the medical medium journey, I started to have heart palpitations more frequently, and the heart palpitation, like at first it was just like whatever, because it wasn't that frequent and it would be weird, but then it would be a long time before it would happen again. But when I found the medical medium information, like right before that, it had started becoming more frequent and was starting to freak me out to the point where I did see a cardiologist, obviously, because I have a diagnosis of POTS dysautonomia. And yeah, it started to get a little scary because I was like, what is going on? Why is my heart doing flippy flops? And then I like feel like I can't breathe. And so shortness of breath, another issue. I had heavy limbs, like just they always felt like kind of lead weights. It was really hard to sort of move. It always felt like I was sort of trying to move through soup, like a pea soup kind of situation. And it was, or maybe like if you're like when you're walking in a swimming pool, everything just felt really heavy. It was hard to walk and move. Honestly, because of my chronic pain, I couldn't even really stand for more than 5 minutes. So everything was just an excruciating pain. I couldn't hold my body upright from the waist up. Even if I was sitting, like I couldn't hold myself upright. I always had to be like propped up on pillows and leaning on something. I still do that a lot. It's been a long time. It's old habits. But it's not so much because it hurts anymore. I think it's more now just a habit. Sometimes reading through these symptoms is hard. So I would get shooting random pains in my body, just wherever, in my feet, sometimes in my calves, sometimes in my face. It just would be random places, just shooting sharp, painful pains. I had a lot of hair loss. Off and on, I would have periods of way too much hair coming out of the brush, and I was like, whoa, where's my hair going? Okay, now we get into some of the mental health stuff, which is panic. I'd have periods of panic, and I had really severe anxiety. So severe that I couldn't leave my home for several reasons. I was allergic to the world, but also I had a complex PTSD and severe anxiety. So I would even call it complex anxiety. I don't know if that's a term, but because if I was gonna leave the house, like I couldn't. It was so hard, and I would have doctor's appointments. The only thing I ever left the house for was doctor's appointments, because it was I had no gas in my tank, like none. It was like, it really was. Trying to move me around or have me do anything was like trying to drive a car with no gas. Like you can't. It's not going to move without fuel, and that was me. It was so difficult to do any task. I couldn't fold laundry. I couldn't do laundry. I couldn't wash the dishes in my home. I couldn't prepare food. I couldn't take a shower. It was hard to dress myself. Like every single thing was so excruciatingly difficult and so hard. And it was so painful and took so much effort, and I would crash after just doing anything. So going out of the house was just a whole thing, because I had to do multiple things to go out of the house. I had to shower and get dressed and get out the door, which all of these things, phenomenal, astronomical tasks, could not cope. And so the anxiety just ramped up and up and up, and I developed like medical PTSD and medical anxiety about just going to doctors, because would the doctor have a decent bedside manner? Would they be a kind human? Would the other people in their office be kind humans? And would they have all kinds of chemicals in their office that I would react to? And would I get sicker for going to the doctor? And was it going to be worth it? And oh my gosh, this is such a Herculean effort. Is any of this worth it? And it would just, my mind would spin. I had such severe anxiety, I could not answer the phone. I could not talk on the phone. I definitely couldn't do like a cold call. My husband had to make all phone calls for me on my behalf, even my appointments. He also had to cancel all of my appointments because I would have such severe anxiety on the day of the appointment that I couldn't make it out the door. Sometimes even after like doing the Herculean task of taking a shower and getting dressed and all of that and getting ready to go, I still couldn't make it out the door, and he'd have to cancel my appointments at the last minute. It was debilitating. Because I was like hard to even talk to friends, because I just couldn't. Oh man, the anxiety was just, and I know everybody has like sort of a little bit of different version of anxiety who has it, but my heart goes out so much to anyone who suffers from anxiety, because it steals your life away, it steals your joy, and makes everything just terrifying. Really, it's awful. So obviously I would have anxiety attacks. I think I just described those. And I suffered from depression since I was like 14. Basically since puberty hit, depression. On and off, sometimes really severe. So I would also, along with that, have really dark thoughts. I'm not really going to talk about those, but they would be dark. Some mostly about self-harming, but yeah, just all these just dark thoughts, like telling me that I was horrible and stuff like that. Not good. I would get the itchies. My whole body would just be itchy. Oh, when I talk about it, I start feeling itchy. My back itched. My inside of my ears would be itchy. Sometimes like on the bottoms of my feet, but like inside. So it's like I'd scratch it, but it's like it'd never quite get to it. Sometimes it would be like a burning itch, and sometimes it would be just an itchy itch. Mostly it was just an itchy itch. It didn't usually burn too bad, but sometimes it would burn. The tips of my toes would itch, and just randomly all over my body I'd be itchy. Like sometimes it would just be my whole body. And so I bought back scratchers. I still keep my back scratcher next to me. Yeah, the itchiness has gone down a lot. I mean, everything I've named so far is pretty much gone. So it's not that I don't have episodes of any of those things. Occasionally something will pop up and I'll have like an episode, but it's so brief. Like, yes, I used to live this way 24/7 all the time with all of these things going on, and so much of it has improved, if not disappeared completely. So, okay. Oh yeah, okay. So dry, cracked skin and peeling. My hands would peel a couple of times a year, or a few times a year. My hands would just peel. And I had all kinds of things with my skin. I had dry, cracked heels, like just super dry skin on my feet, and it peels, and that is still healing, but it's so significantly better. I would get, okay, so I was a photographer in high school and college, and all of the photography teachers would say, don't put your hands in the chemicals, don't put your hands in the chemicals, don't put your hands in the chemicals. And guess what we did? Put our hands in the chemicals. And I didn't know then what I know now. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Breathing those chemicals all day. Oh, my poor liver. How is my liver? How is it just, I mean, my liver's amazing, keeping me alive through all that. So I'm old enough that being a photographer in high school and college for me meant we were working with chemistry and film and paper and developing our own photographs and developing our own negatives and all of that stuff. So that meant chemicals, 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 and more chemicals. Breathing it in, dipping our freaking hands in it, like in crazy people. And so I got this peely stuff on my skin. It would just peel a few times a year, like all around my cuticles, and it would just, it'd get peely on my hands. Not so bad as I've seen some people's dry, cracked eczema on their hands that looks super painful. It would just be like the layer of skin peeling, and it didn't usually hurt. Sometimes it would kind of crack and hurt, but not very often. So yeah, I would get that peely skin. That has not happened in a long time. That's one of those things that I don't think about, because it was like such a minor irritation, and I wouldn't have even thought of it as a symptom, but it is, because it's like it doesn't happen anymore, and it's so nice that it doesn't happen anymore. And the dry, it's not cracked like anymore. Like the dry, cracked skin on my heels isn't cracked anymore, but my feet do still peel. I have weird feet. They have like lots of calluses on them. I don't know the deal with my feet. They've always had interesting issues. Oh, I did get a couple of, like, I'd get little warts on the bottoms of my feet too. I forgot about those. I don't even think I wrote that down, so that's like 107. Dry scalp. I've had dandruff like, I don't know, forever. And that is a symptom. It's a symptom of your liver being compromised. It means that you are dehydrated and your liver is having some trouble cleaning stuff out. So dandruff is actually a symptom. I didn't know. And I still probably get, like, I don't know. I don't have it like I did. Like, it doesn't fall out of my... Anyway, it's not as bad. That is definitely improving, and you're not going to see flakes in my hair or anything like that. Like, I think it used to be like that. So I had this raised mole that appeared one day. This isn't something I've always had. This is something that appeared on the very top of the back of my leg, and I was like, where did this come from? Like, one day I was like, what the heck's that? That's never been there before. It was really bizarre, but it is gone now. It disappeared again. So that was really cool. I think also I had skin tags here and there. Not very many, but every now and again they'd crop up, and those have disappeared as well. I have one that has recently appeared here, and it already kind of seems to be getting lower, so I don't know. It happens. That's the thing about healing. Not linear, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Sometimes old symptoms can reappear. And did I talk about the plantar fasciitis? So the plantar fasciitis, it's a new symptom. I'd never had it before, and here it has come this late in my healing, but it's generally from like dead viral debris collecting in one area, and the foot that has the plantar fasciitis is also the foot that has I have edema in my feet, and honestly probably all over my body if we're just gonna be honest, but you can see it in my feet. It's really obvious in my feet. Like the rest of it just looks like I'm fat, whereas like in my feet, it's like my one foot, my right foot swells up to sometimes like the size of a grapefruit. It's the ankle, I mean, and the foot will get all, like, it swells. So it does way worse in warmer weather and in humidity, and it is not comfortable. It feels like a balloon being stretched really tight, like a water balloon. It's very uncomfortable. I think just I really have a problem with lymph drainage in that foot. I have broken both of my ankles at different times, but I think the most recent one was my right foot. Stretchy connective tissue, things break. And because they don't really support very well. And so that foot just gets edema so bad, and it does go down when I eat more raw food. And it's interesting because at the first part of when I started healing using medical and medium information, the edema disappeared altogether, and I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my gosh, it's gone. I don't have to wear these compression socks anymore and all this stuff, and I was so happy and so excited. And then gradually, eventually it came back, and it's still here. So the edema has just taken a long time to heal, but that's also a part of the lymph, and the lymph is something, my lymph system is something that's still a bit clogged and I struggle with, especially right now. I haven't been able to do any of my rebounding and stuff like that. But I will say, doing this raw cleanse, that the plantar fasciitis pain has gone down. Kind of fluctuates, it comes and goes, but it's really gone down a lot. And the edema is slowly going down a bit. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's just one of those things, like my lymph system needs extra help, and all of the things that I had in place for my lymph system, detox baths, skin brushing, rebounding, things like that, not in place anymore right now in the RV. So we'll see. My lymph system just needs a lot of help. Okay. Yes. Sensitivity to temperature. So both hot and cold, any extreme temperatures, I was very sensitive to. That has improved so drastically. Also barometric pressure. So any changes in barometric pressure, because with fibromyalgia and all of the symptoms that come with fibromyalgia, like all the random pain spots on my body and the sensitivity to barometric pressure, like any change in barometric pressure, it felt like just unbearable pressure to my own blood vessels, and it would just hurt. It just felt like I was being squeezed, and it was so uncomfortable. So humidity, oh my gosh, so painful. And then just cold and heat. Like I couldn't take any heat. Everything had to just be temperature controlled. It would just be unbearable if it wasn't. I couldn't handle any of it. 5 minutes out in a hotter temperature, I would feel like I was having like heat sickness. It was not good. I lived in a temperate climate, so I didn't really have to deal with the cold very often, because that was when we lived in the Pacific Northwest. But I'm noticing, like, here I am in this super humid climate, and I'm not great with the heat and the humidity. I'm not used to the muggy. I don't really like it at all, but I'm coping. And my son's actually doing a lot better too. He had the same temperature sensitivity. Okay. Oh, I used to get eczema just in my eyebrows, like flaky, like my eyebrows would flake. Like, it's like they had their own weird, I don't know, they would get flaky, and the skin would, so I would always have to sort of like do that to get the skin off and stuff like that. And it would just come and go. It just, for years and years and years, and it has not happened in such a long time, and it's awesome. The other thing, about my eyebrows, this is gonna be 108 because I didn't write this down. But because with the hypothyroid, they always attribute that to like your eyebrows totally thinning out over here. Like they'll start dark and then they get really thin. And I have noticed lately that my eyebrows are filling in. And I guess that could be like my age, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's only started as I've healed, because they used to be just like non-existent. Like I just had this part kinda, and then it would just fade to nothing, and now it fades to something. There's eyebrow there. So it's kind of cool. Okay, so then obviously I had all the rosacea on my face, and I still struggle with that. And then the acne is also an issue. I didn't have either, like the rosacea is really new, so is the acne. Actually, they both are. Both of those things are within the past 5 years, I think, started happening. They weren't happening before, but I feel like that's just my lymph system was just like, so I can't take this anymore, and I couldn't get it out, and so that's what was happening, because all those toxins and pathogens were there, all of the copper and stuff that causes that, and that it feeds on, and there's copper in the liver, and so those are new in the past 5 years, but they definitely were an issue. Okay, so the chronic fatigue. I talked about no gas in the tank. Yeah, that's part of the chronic fatigue. I mean, chronic fatigue, the name says it all. It is brutal. You can't, everything, you feel heavy, you feel like you can't move or walk. Everything feels just excruciating and difficult, and you're just always tired. And not just tired, but like deep fatigue. Like everything is just really difficult to do. So obviously I had that as one of my symptoms. That's like one of the crossover symptoms with a bunch of the different diagnoses. Yeah, okay. So I would get Charlie horse cramps in my calves and in my feet. So they would like lock up, and it would usually happen when I was trying to sleep or in bed, and I would just be like move some kind of way, and it would just be like screaming pain all of a sudden, and it would just, oh my gosh, it hurts so much. It's so much. I am so happy to say that has not happened in such a long time. I don't even know how long. Some of these symptoms, it's like, I don't know when that disappeared, but I know it's been a long time since I've experienced it, and that was one of them. Oh my gosh, brutal. And like night sweats, I don't know if I wrote down night sweats. That could be 109 or 10. I don't know what number we're on, but I used to get night sweats really bad, and again, gone. So happy. I can just sleep in bed like a normal dry bed. And odors used to happen. Like, I think we think in our society that it's really normal to have like just kind of a strong body odor. And mine wasn't like so strong that I needed prescription and anything like that. It was just that like it existed. So I'd get stinky sometimes, and my poop would be real stinky and stuff like that. And not anymore. I'm not saying I don't get stinky, but it takes a lot longer, and it does not smell nearly as bad as it did before. It's kind of amazing. And I did a video about the poop not stinking, so if you want to find that video, learn all about it, you can. I laughed all the way through it because I couldn't keep a straight face. Oh yes, the systemic exertion intolerance disorder. Any kind of exertion, I would just be so exhausted. Generally the description is like after exercise, but it was like, no, literally after anything. I would just, any task would exhaust me. If I tried to do anything, get dressed, take a shower, fix myself some food, just anything, I would just be so exhausted afterward. And compromised methylation pathways. So things were not getting into my body where they needed to be. Oh, I didn't write that down either, I don't think. Compromised methylation pathways / malabsorption. So I just not getting the nutrients I needed from the food, and not being able to detox properly, and not being able to have things go where they needed to go in my body. And that contributes to a lot of these symptoms too. So I recently did a video that was a victory check video about sensitivity to the RV air conditioner, and it turns out that yes, while my sensitivity has gone down significantly because I used to not be able to have the air conditioner on in the RV at all, and I don't know how he would survive in this particular RV park if that were the case. I mean, it would not work. Today is the first day in like a couple of weeks I have been able to open the windows for just a little while until it gets too hot later. and I'll have to close them and we'll have to turn on the AC again. But it has been so brutally hot here. And an RV is a giant tin box and it heats up very quickly. So you gotta have a good air conditioner. And our RV is also from the year 2000. I don't know if our air conditioner is that old, but our RV is that old. So I think the air conditioner uses probably more, I don't know, power and like emits more EMFs because it's older. But my husband says it's not that old, so I don't know. So I couldn't have it on, and now I can actually sleep in the back with the air conditioner running and it doesn't bother me. It's totally fine. However, the one in the front still does bother me, I discovered. I thought it was fine. I was able to sit under it one day for a couple of hours and it was okay, but then I guess my nervous system might be a little topped off right now because of all the emotions and all the stress and everything. I have not been able to sit under it since, so we can't turn on the front one. I can still sit under the back one, no problem, so I don't know what's up with that, but the front one is still too intense. So I think they must be different in some kind of way. I mean, they obviously are, but one is better than zero. So yes, one of the symptoms for a long while was just continual weight gain and not being able to stop it. After I had my concussion in 2012, I started gaining weight at a very rapid pace, and I gained close to 100 pounds, and everything would be causing me to gain weight. Everything I ate, everything, like I just couldn't stop gaining weight. That has stopped, thankfully, and I've actually lost some of that weight, so that's really great. I don't know how much at this point because we don't have scale in RV and it's been a while, but last count I think it was 40 or 50 pounds. I can't remember. So I have lost some of that weight and that's fantastic, and it's continuing to come off, I'm sure, just based on the way my clothes aren't fitting and things like that, like how far I can tie the string on my apron around my waist, stuff like that. I can tell. Yeah, that was a symptom for a while. It's just like rapid, consistent weight gain, and I was like, this is crazy, stop. Like, why? Because it's not, I didn't have a change in diet, I didn't have a change in anything else. It was just the concussion, and then, well, I did have an activity level change, because after the concussion I couldn't move. I was so dizzy and everything. It started the decline of my health, like the fast decline. My birth started the decline of my health, but my concussion made it go flew to where I became non-functional. Okay, so mast cell activation symptoms, which were, among other things, the flushing. I'd get bumpy rash on my face and sort of hives, obviously, and flushing in this area and on my face. And I would get that all the time. And I don't know if that's still, I think it happens a little bit. It doesn't flush here anymore like it used to. It'll flush still on my face. My face has still got but the lymph on my face has still got all this stuff coming out. So it's definitely improved for sure. Migraines. Migraines triggered by so many things. I have a list of my triggers. They used to be triggered by LEDs, fluorescent lights, petrochemicals, perfumes, colognes, detergents, plug-in air fresheners, which is petrochemicals, exhaust, car exhaust, any strong odors really, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, lack of sleep, dehydration, mold, dust, aged cheeses, wine, sensory overstimulation. Like if I would go out in a crowd, it would just be too much. It would be like system overload. I'd get a migraine. Processed meats, refined sugars, MSG, gluten, and corn. All of these things were triggers for migraines. Now, obviously, I do not eat dairy, gluten, corn, MSG, sugars, alcohol, any of that stuff anymore. And yeah, I took it out because of the migraines, even before the medical medium information. But then reading about what those things do in the body reiterated for me, like, oh, my intuition was on, like this is correct what I was doing, because I knew those things caused migraines for me. How I'm trying to think of how frequently I used to get migraines. Pretty freaking frequently. I used to get them all the time. And now, the only thing that can still happen that could possibly trigger a migraine is like a combination of lack of sleep and dehydration. And even when I do get them, it's only like the start of one. It's never, like, I never get the full-blown migraines anymore. So recovery time way faster, because I could have migraines for days before. Now it'll just be like maybe a few hours. I guess the longest one has been like a day. Yeah, they have improved so drastically. And many of those triggers that I read to you will still trigger. I mean, like colognes and perfumes and plug-in air fresheners and those spray bottle air fresheners and stuff like that. Like, those are, oh my God, they're so toxic. And scented candles, stuff like that. Just, you know, petrochemicals are awful. Just everything made with them is horrible. They shouldn't exist. It's just, they're so toxic. They're so toxic on the body. And the liver has to store those chemicals. Like, you're breathing something in and you think it's fine. It's not fine. The liver has to store that to protect you from it, because otherwise it would kill us. I'm definitely going to do a part 2 of this video. I'm going to stop here. I'm just a little less than halfway through the list. So I'll just kind of wrap up by saying that so many of these symptoms have improved, and some of them have fully healed, and it's miraculous to me. It's miraculous how many symptoms and conditions I've healed. Things that I just thought were a part of life and that I just had to live with them forever and ever, and I didn't even think of them as symptoms because of the fact that I just thought, oh, this is just what being alive is like. You know, like, this just happens. People just have this. This is, or I just do, you know, oh, this is just the body I live in. It's just like this. And no, it's not actually. Those things all can heal, and it's amazing how much I have healed and how much is healing, and things that are improving that I was like, I never knew. I never even thought possible. So the medical medium information has been nothing short of like a miraculous gift for my life, and I am so, so grateful for all of it, for everything. It's everything I have done to heal has been worth every step of it, and that's what I have to say about that right now. My family's waking up. I gotta wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of my symptoms and conditions. If you like this video, give a thumbs up below. You can subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button over there. You can ding the bell next to it if you want to be notified when I post a new video, like part 2 of this. I love you so, so much, my healers and health seekers. I want you to know that you can heal, and I wish you so many blessings for your continued healing journey. I so appreciate you coming along on my healing journey and every minute of your presence, and just stay curious, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.